Welcome back to the Mutual Friend Podcast. I'm Ian.
I'm Darin.
And I'm Beau.
And as an interesting point, although this is the third recording of the formal Mutual Friend Podcast, fourth recording of the Mutual Friend Podcast, and like the 27th episode or whatever, this is the first time we've had a mutual friend on the podcast.
Yes.
Right.
Because Dave and Ian and Matt and myself all are friends, and Beau is a friend that we met through
Beau
Dave.
is my arch enemy.
Correct.
And Beau is Ian's arch enemy.
And not only that, I'm cousins with Travis, who was childhood friends with Dave.
Right.
How I met Darin.
Yes.
How I met Ian.
So you kind of met Ian through me just as much as Dave.
Yes.
Sure.
And I met you through
Online,
Dave
like
and Travis
normal-
playing
right.
online.
Online, like normal people.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's how people meet now.
Yeah, faces scare me.
Do you remember the first time you played with Beau?
Yeah, we were playing GTA, I think.
Was it GTA,
Yeah.
not Destiny?
It might... now I can't remember. May have been Destiny, because that was... Well, we were playing... Well, GTA came out first, so we were
Yeah.
probably playing GTA.
Yeah.
Did you have GTA on the 360?
No. I just had it on the Xbox One.
So
Yeah.
that means that Destiny actually came out first.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
That's all right.
We'll say GTA.
Yeah.
GTA.
I think
GTA
that's...
is more memorable for the actual interactions anyway.
Yeah,
100%.
right.
Destiny's super fun. Great gameplay. But you can't you can't play Hasta La Vista in Destiny where it's two guys on bikes, feverishly riding away from two semi-cabs.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, you can only really play like 4 things on Destiny over and over.
What if you could put the
over
shooting
again.
from Destiny into GTA?
I would, yes, do that.
Yeah, I'm not displeased with GTA shooting, but Destiny shooting's amazing.
Yeah. Well, GTA does.
It's a Bungie game. I mean,
80
it's going to be...
things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you could put GTA story into Destiny,
Any portion of GTA.
right? Actually, that's just it.
Yeah.
Yeah, grafting. It's just the shooting.
So I've got a funny thing, although I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. Joss Whedon released a video today that's an anti-Trump voting commercial. Have either of you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You both saw it?
I believe so.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the one with like all the people from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna see Mark.
Yes.
Ruffalo's.
Yeah.
Starts out like a normal political ad, or even something where it's like, you can fight hunger and all those things. And then, it starts to slowly turn into a Joss Whedon production with the dialogue and the acting. It was, I thought I was very happy with that.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to vote for Trump, so obviously I'm on their side for that. But
Right.
it was still very entertaining.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, all the media that I'm pushed is really binary in the presidential election thing. So I enjoyed it just because, 1, entertainment, and 2, the more people that are influenced not to vote for that psychopath.
Yeah.
So
It's like voting for your principal who you hated but got you through high school, maybe, hopefully, or voting for the guy who tried to burn your school down.
well, try to tear your school down and then build some monstrosity on it.
Who set your school on fire and put spikes in front of all the exits.
Yeah, it's almost like you're voting for the person that helped you get through school, or just Donald Trump. Really, there's no analogy that's quite. And just so we're aware, if he is made president, this will be found by NSA.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be cool to live in a police state because I've only seen movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be neat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're part of the way there now anyway. So,
Yeah, definitely part of the way. So.
Ian,
I don't know if I'm going to join in on this.
No, it was a good commercial. What, it wasn't a commercial.
yeah, that-
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
yeah. It should be. I guess it won't be a commercial because it can't play during. There's no way they could play that during like TV shows.
They could make a shorter cut of it. I mean, they could, yeah. I don't know that they would have... I mean, I guess if all those people actually really wanted the message out there, they could put together funds for that kind of thing.
Well, and also the people that they want to see that probably don't watch television.
That's also probably their aim is...
part of me feels like that entire ad is aimed at Bernie supporters who refuse to support Hillary Clinton.
Sure.
Like having cast a firefly in the Avengers and stuff like that.
Or people who just feel that neither of the candidates, neither of the two primary candidates.
It's like, well, I'm just not going to vote because then neither of them
right,
support me.
Right.
Or my person.
And it's like, okay, well, I could throw my vote to a third party, but does that help?
As Kang and Kodos taught us in The Simpsons, that's just throwing your vote away.
Right. I mean, as long as you believe you're throwing it away, you'll continue to throw it away, right? Yeah, until there's enough of an impact, but that realistically won't happen. So.
Well, and we live in Minnesota, so this is a very blue state.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure Hillary will do just fine. I believe during the primaries she got more Democratic. She got more votes, whatever votes during our election than all three of the the top three Republicans got together. That could all be wrong.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. They were pretty fractured, so.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So if you live in a non-swing state, you should vote for who you think represents you most.
Or in any state, yeah.
Or if you don't, but if we end up with Trump, I just don't want Gary Johnson, who I like a lot as far as his personality and some of his policies go. I don't want him to. Well, I guess he would just take away from Trump. So just don't vote for Jill Stein.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No, I won't go into it much. But so Dan Carlin, libertarian guy, he's really interesting. He's some great podcasts. But he was saying how after Ross Perot in '92 made it onto the debate stage, how they artificially increased the threshold to get on, right? But there were talks to lower that as well, and that was basically because the establishments of both Democrat and Republican said Johnson will only help both of us because neither of us want Trump, Republican side, Democrat side. But then that didn't happen recently.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. Because I think that at least Johnson and Clinton might have a debate about policies and effects.
That'd be interesting.
That might be nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's just going to be a shit fest on stage with the two of them. So,
well,
Monday night we'll see, but
because the first one's on Monday. Yeah. I guess what Clinton has to do is because Trump doesn't have to prepare. He might be, but he doesn't have to prepare. He's never prepared for anything.
He won't prepare.
But Clinton has to prepare for two opponents. She has to prepare for Trump, who's just going to throw shit and not answer any questions. And she has to prepare for a more scripted Trump, because he does have some smarter people who are on his campaign. Mm-hmm. So maybe they are like, okay, here's the deal. You can't just go out there and call her stupid and point out that she's a woman. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to actually present something. And he might be like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to do my thing.
Right.
Right? That's my Trump.
I like
it. Or he might be like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll listen to what you guys have to say.
Your Trump needs more tiny hands.
More tiny hands?
Mm-hmm.
I can't grab onto this huge microphone.
Right.
But I will look forward to watching the debate just to see what the hell happens.
Mercy.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it's like between being a rock and a hard place, but I think that it's like one's being shot in the head and one's knowing that you're not going to enjoy the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah. Thus concludes the political portion of Mutual Friend Podcast.
Yeah, that's good politics on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll catch all that in editing.
We're just gonna cut out everything after the self-driving car. Until just now.
That this will just be a bonus episode on Patreon. So.
How many people here support things on Patreon? I know you support at least one thing.
Like 5. 6.
5. Awesome. What do you support?
So Kind of Funny Games, Pocketful of Soups by Jared Petty. Go listen to it. It's really good. I support The Comedy Button with Max Schofield, Brian Altano. That's the two main hosts.
So that's basically not an IGN podcast, but they're still both on IGN.
They both are, yeah. And then two other gentlemen, I forgot their names, but Ryan Scott I don't remember the other guy. Anyway, and then last, but certainly not least, is Last Podcast on the Left, which they cover serial killers, conspiracy theories, and like the paranormal, and it is so fun. It's hilarious.
I think you've told me about that.
It's really good. It's also very dark, so if you're not into, if you have a weak stomach for that stuff, don't go look it up.
Like even worse than Serial, because Serial probably wasn't all that bad. As far as dark
yeah,
stuff
no.
goes.
This is so they'll choose, let's say, a serial killer. They usually do a 3-part, more currently, but they do amazing research, and they'll find firsthand accounts and courtroom testimony, and they really go into what happens. And obviously, these serial killers are 100% insane, but it also reveals quite a bit, such as Jeffrey Dahmer. So his whole thing is he was trying to make basically slaves for what his intentions, we'll say.
He was drugging, or
what? He would drug to get them there, and then his psychosis was so bad that he was actually I don't know what you want to cover in this podcast. He would drill holes in people's head and pour random fluid in there, try to make them a servant. Anyway, but he only did this stuff when he was drunk. He knew he was sick, so he would just get blasted drunk so he could cope with what he was doing while he was working on this kid.
We'll just say working.
Yeah, I don't know really what to call it. He started to come down, and he thought, no, I need to get drunk. So he went to the liquor store, pick up some beer. And when he came back, there's a cop car in front of his apartment, and
this guy got out, right?
The kid had gotten out, and Jeffrey Dahmer's homosexual. During this time, there's less acceptance, or I would even say just being comfortable, right? So Jeffrey Dahmer plays the card right away and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, this is my gay lover. We're into really rough sex, and he's on drugs, and he's drunk."
That's why I drilled a hole in his head.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's why he's screaming and terrified. The police officers were so uncomfortable, they actually helped lead the guy back up to Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, and Jeffrey Dahmer eventually killed the guy. So anyway, so they really go into it, but they'll go into a lot more depth, and 2 of them are comedians.
Sounds like
with some dark humor. So
anyway. Is he dead now? Did Jeffrey Dahmer die in prison? Or
he was killed in prison,
like by a couple guys.
Yeah, I think by a guy beat him to death. Yeah.
And how about you, Ian?
It's got dark.
Yeah.
Do you have something lighter to mention as far as Patreon goes?
I don't back anything on Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Currently, yeah. So
no. What's that?
So no.
Big goose egg. That's all right. I back something called Mr. Sunday Movies. It's 2 Australian gentlemen. They work for Comic Book Movie News, the website, and they have a weekly podcast called The Weekly Planet. And I support them because they're very funny, and I enjoy their podcast. Yeah. They just came out with a new show called Carnival of Garbage. And what they do is they find lesser known or tragically really bad properties, and then they just kind of analyze them and talk about it. It's almost like there's a podcast called How Did This Get Made that's been around for 4 or 5 years now, but they're going to do that with things like comic books and unmade films. The first episode was about the proposed second Star Wars movie if it hadn't been a big hit. So when they first made Star Wars, it was no one knew if it was going to make any money. Fox thought it was going to just burn. Even George Lucas was like, well, we won't know. First weekend, we'll make a lot of money. Third weekend, then we'll know if we're making anything. So they had already started making a script for a second movie if they didn't have as big of a budget. And so it doesn't have Han Solo in it. They're like, we're not going to get him. There's no way he's coming back. And it's Luke and Leia, still not brother and sister, going on a little space adventure. So, Mr. Sunday Movies, The Weekly Planet. It's really good.
That wasn't the title for the second episode that wasn't made, right?
No.
Okay.
That would have been a good episode.
It would have really thrown people off.
It's Mists of the Shattered Mind or something like that.
Right.
Something when you think Attack of the Clones is a goofy name, it's could have been called Mists of the Shattered Mind.
Right.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's something. If it's not as bad as that, it's not much better. Is anyone doing anything interesting or fun recently? You started playing the new Destiny.
Yeah, Rise of Iron.
There you go.
It's fun.
It's fun?
It's not Rise of Iron Throne.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Can you prove it?
Let's get a fact check on
The
that
internet
one.
can.
That's true. Beau, you used to play a lot of Destiny.
Yeah.
Checked out on that one now, though, you think?
Oh, no. I'll keep coming back as long as they make them because it is fun. It's a social game. So when people I know are playing, so like I saw Ian was playing, Dave had been playing, I text Dave right away and was like, hey, I'm going to buy this. So I'll buy it. It's good. Taken King put a little more faith in me or in the franchise.
Well, it was an incredibly ambitious endeavor to do Destiny.
Right.
I think they nailed the gameplay. I don't know if anyone really can question that. Gameplay is probably the most solid shooter that I think I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's all online, that's awesome. Because I usually expect less out of my online shooters, not more.
Sure.
So that's cool.
The shame of it is how much story there really is in the Grimoire cards and whatnot. I listen to a podcast on that too.
Right.
Far too often. I don't play the game anymore, but I still listen just for the lore segments.
What's it called?
It's Guardians of Destiny. So
Cool.
yeah, it's really good.
The newest expansion does some good things in that respect. It actually puts a lot of story in the game. There are bits that, even in the mission I was playing today, where you actually go and you assemble the Gjallarhorn rocket launcher.
Awesome.
You actually have to go and collect all the pieces and all that stuff. In that mission, you learn some stuff about one of the factions in the tower that, I don't know if that's even in Grimoire cards, but it's really interesting, I think. So
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say with the Gjallarhorn too, and you wouldn't know it unless you had read the cards, it's forged out of the armor of these amazing guardians that had died, and so there's all this story behind it. And then when you use it in the game, it's like, oh, this is the best rocket launcher, right? Yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Done. But
Yeah,
the
and
story behind it is
they
so
do
great.
an awesome job of making that. So when you're doing that mission to go and assemble it, they do an awesome job of putting all that stuff together. You're finding all the relics that are pieces of it, and then even the whole quest line, the main quest line in Rise of Iron is about all of those people, all of the Iron Lords that basically are what are kind of assembled into that weapon. So it's pretty cool.
Is Nathan Fillion back?
He's still in the game. He doesn't have any dialogue from what I've seen.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But when they developed Nathan Fillion's character, Cade Six, I'm sure they saw the success of that and thought, okay, we need to tie more people emotionally to a few more characters. I don't know if they're successful, but
yeah, well,
I'm
I
sure
think
that's what they're looking for.
They have so the main character, protagonist, I guess, in this story that's not the player is the Lord Saladin,
mm-hmm.
who's one of the last Iron Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's the one who's telling you all this stuff about the story, and then he's also leading you through the missions and giving you the quests and all that stuff. And I think they did a good job of making him a personable character.
Sure.
So yeah, I think they're getting better at it, and
mm-hmm.
they've also put in cinematic cutscenes and all that stuff too, which
good
helps add more to the story.
Absolutely. Taken King had great cutscenes.
Yeah,
they were really fun. They were.
So we'll have to see how the raid. I haven't played I think there's 2 strike missions in this version on the Xbox One. I think there might be 3 on the PS4. I'm not sure. But I haven't played one of them yet. The Sepix Prime or Sepix Perfect one. I haven't played yet, but
I made it to where you attack Polgarth the Thinger, and then
the most wretched.
I think that's how far I got.
Yeah.
How far did I get?
Did you attack?
Yeah.
Pagrath the Thinger?
Polgarth.
Pulled pork?
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork fingers?
He was chained to the ground. It seemed really unfair.
That's one of the earlier missions. But you jumped on every once in a while to play with Jeremiah, who would be another mutual friend now.
Jeremiah would have his popcorn, and we would play.
That's right. He'd be chewing his headset and the popcorn simultaneously.
It's pretty cool. They have one of the missions. They have a ogre, and they normally have an eye that shoots laser beams. They rip the eye out of the ogre, and one of the characters has it on like a gun, and so he's like shooting with the eye. Awesome. And the ogre is just going around like blind, trying to smash people.
That's awesome.
It's pretty fun.
People that enjoy Destiny cannot sound any nerdier when they talk. And they just eat it up.
Yeah,
but it's something that you can describe, and unless you've played it, there's no way to really feel it. But if you so like I like that they did do some changes. Like there's a level probably pretty early on because I made it to it where you have to pick up a giant sword, and all of a sudden you're running around with this huge sword just wiping the floor with this thing, and that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool little thing. It's a little different.
Yeah,
and
they keep building on that. Pretty much in the last expansion they did, and they added it so you can actually get that as a heavy weapon. Basically, you can get the swords and go use them wherever you want. And then in this one, they did that again. They have another heavy weapon you can get, and then there's also other weapons you can pick up on the battlefield in certain missions and do those things. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. I picked up a game last week called Recore, and it's really fun, really solid. Took me a while to get into it. And I think that was more with me. I have a lot of trouble just sitting down and concentrating. So I had to like put my iPad and my phone in like a lockbox with a timer on it, and just sit and play. But I'm in pretty far now, and I'm very much enjoying it. It's got a lot of character. It's only a $40 game, so it's got a really cool artistic style, but it might not be like the most beautiful game you've ever played. Mm-hmm. But they're doing a lot with the visual, the style of the game, which is cool. And I've got really enjoyable robot companions that follow me around, and they have their own personalities. And it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Very much enjoying it. I think anyone who has either an Xbox One or Windows platform should get it, because I think it's the only new IP coming out this holiday season.
Cuphead?
Is Cuphead
coming out? Oh my god, I'm so excited for that game.
Yeah, and I've heard that certain parts are like not so boss battles are too difficult, normal levels aren't, all this other stuff. And I don't care because I'll watch it for what it is.
Yeah,
because it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it does look very, very cool. Mm-hmm. I look at that game and I'm like, I'll get 5 seconds into this game and get frustrated to the point of tears.
Mm.
So angry.
So there's the Scott Pilgrim game that came out on Xbox 360, I think.
Yeah.
And I bought that game because I liked the movie, and I just wanted to
really
play the game, and it was like a 4-player co-op or whatever, and that game is difficult as shit.
Wait, it's like the games of. I hate to play your age.
No, it is. It is like an older game because it plays like that, where if you die, you're dead. You restart.
Right.
And it's really unforgiving.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, the guy hit me down to the ground, and he kicks me every time I try to get up, and I'm so angry at this video game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I didn't get very far in that game either. But if that's if that's the same, I hope it's not the same as Cuphead. I think I will enjoy that a little bit more. And
it looks like Cuphead's harder.
Yeah. Well,
what helps with that is instant respawns, right?
Right.
So I mean, when you fail, like Meat Boy and everything else, that whole
Meat Boy is amazing.
It is.
That's a great game with a lot of it's like, okay, I died, but I'm not angry about it.
Right. There's a difference between being difficult and being punishing.
Right.
Where I don't feel like I'm being cheated when I die. Yeah.
You know why you die in those games. I'm playing a game on the PlayStation 4 right now called Enter the Gungeon. And it's they call it like a bullet hell style game where you're always just dodging bullets.
Right.
And, it's a lot of fun. It's got a really neat, quirky sense of humor, and there's a bunch of different kinds of guns, and some of them are just like, this is a shotgun, and this one's like, this is a wind-up toy that shoots like wiffle balls. And they're it's a lot of fun, but you die a lot.
Sure.
And then you die even more after that. But it's still entertaining. It's fun.
Yeah, and actually I had a question. So, well, first I'll just tell my part of it. So I used to be a completionist, not in the sense I need to get everything in a game, although that was pretty strong. it was that if I bought a game, I had to finish it. I had to see it all the way through. And I don't know when it changed to me, maybe 2-ish years ago. It's so much easier now for me to just turn it off and then either give the disc away or put it on Craigslist. And I found that to add enjoyment to the games I actually like.
Sure.
So a good example was Unraveled. I wanted to support it just because it was an interesting game. But I progressed enough, and it just was, I'm going to keep doing this, and it's beautiful, but sure. And I quit, and I'm happy enough with the game, and I don't feel bad about it. So I was wondering...
Like, you don't feel cheated?
No. Either of you...
So I was kind of that way with Fallout 4, but in the sense that I just was spending way too much time in it, and I was I have to get rid of this.
You gave that away because you were getting close to addicted, isn't that what?
Yeah, somewhat. I was playing a lot, and I was basically just not doing anything in the story or in I'd already beaten the game. I beat the game. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't 100% it. I didn't go and do all the side missions and all that stuff. There's a lot to do in that.
It's hard to 100% a Bethesda game.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes impossible if their bugs are still up and running.
Yeah, and I kind of regret giving it. So I gave it to my brother, who's in Seattle. Hey, take this with you.
Yeah, get this away.
Right.
You need to get on a plane and get as far away in the country from me as you can.
Yeah. So he's got it, but I think some of the expansions would have been a lot of fun to play just because they're like what's the Nuka?
So Nuka World just came out 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Looked pretty cool.
I haven't played that one yet. I haven't played the one where you can build a vault and become an overseer in the vault. I played the hell out of Far Harbor. Far Harbor was fantastic. That's the one where you go to a swampy stuff. Not swampy, but it's
like an island, right?
It's like an island, and it's supposed to be like a main fishery type of thing where there's a bunch of like lobster cages and stuff like that.
Mirelurk cages,
and everyone's wearing weird like yellow raincoats. But that game. That add-on, if it had been in the game, it would have been at least 10 to 12 hours, probably more. The way I played it, I probably spent like 4 days.
Well, and that's the thing about that game too. For me, was and why it was such a time sink was just that I wasn't doing anything on the mission side, so I was just doing my own stuff. I was just creating, building a village and like just adding stuff up and getting as many people into each one of my places as I could.
I've told both this story before, so I apologize, but I'm going to tell it again real quick. One of the best things ever happened to me when I was playing Far Harbor, because I also collect everything, and then I use it to build up whatever residences are on wherever I am, and I have a lot of fun with that. But in the Far Harbor, they introduced a gun called the Harpoon gun, and it shoots harpoons. And it's really slow, and your character like cranks back this thing when he's holding it, and thing's like 5 feet long and shoots out this 3 foot long harpoon, and it'll usually kill whatever you shoot with it within one hit, and sometimes it'll pin them to things and stuff, so that's always cool.
I like that in Crackdown.
Yes. So there's been like Fear. There was a game called Fear.
Yeah,
there was a couple
Fear.
of them. They had a gun that would pin people to walls, and anytime we'll do that in a game, I'm super happy. But I was about to attack this area where there was a bunch of bad guys that were called trappers, and they're all wearing like crazy trapping gear. And I'm planning out my plot pretty carefully, because there's a bunch of people there, and I know that it could go south for me pretty quickly. And so I'm marking where everyone is, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill this guy, and I'm going to kill this guy. I should be able to kill like 5 of them before they even know I'm there. And then, in the game, I hear a noise, and I couldn't even tell if it was in the game or in real life. Like, I looked up to my left just to see if there was somebody in real life. And then in the game, I looked up, and there was a trapper like right there. He's probably like peeing on a tree or whatever that I'm standing by. And I'm like, well, this kind of changes things. So I just switched to my shotgun and like, we're going in loud and messy. And I did, so I killed that guy, and then I started attacking everybody, and they're attacking me. And then all of a sudden I see this big dude coming over the hill slowly, and I'm like, what is he carrying? I've never seen anybody carrying that before. Then I was like, is that a harpoon gun? And then all of a sudden I get shot, and like more than half of my health I see just drain away, and then the upper part of the corner of the screen it says, "A harpoon has been added to your inventory." And I was like, "That's the nicest way a game has ever told me." I just lost half of my health,
Right.
and I'm probably gonna die soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some weapons, just like arrows in a lot of games, you can pick them up, and that's one of those things where you can collect it.
I would
getting hit with it.
I would like to go back and see, just right after the moment of impact, how many tin cans came flying out the back of you. You collect them like a 1920 scrapper.
I am.
It's
Man, you should see my place, though. I've got so much stuff.
I have. So
He just puts tin cans up on his wall one at a time, collects them until he's got a full wall of them.
I've spent probably 6 hours just spectating Darin playing. So it's probably happened, 3 times?
Yeah.
And we'll just watch him play and we'll talk. And I bet I was there for 4 hours, and I don't think we got through an entire building
Well,
because you were collecting cans. To the point is Jeremiah was also there, and Darin would collect all this stuff and then be overburdened and then dump it in a trash can, so he knows that he can go back to that trash can. But he would leave a room, and then we would just throw out like, "Hey, you forgot a can," and without fault, he would turn around and be like, "What? Where?"
now,
Get those tin cans.
to be fair, well, actually, I never stopped doing that. But I like to be fair to me, so I'll say, to be fair, that was the second day the game was out, because that was Veterans Day, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
right.
right.
When you came over, your wife made us a lovely dinner that I finalized by putting it into the oven.
Right.
And the game had just come out. I had taken a week off, which I'll say I took it off for other reasons. Yeah, that'll probably sound better to other people.
Right.
And not just for that game. But you came over. We made food.
Oh, wait, you did take it out for other reasons because you were getting a couch and a TV delivered so you could play that
So I can
game.
play it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
might-
So, right.
I'll go ahead and fill it out. The game's called Fallout 4. I call it Fallout $4,000 because I also bought a new couch and a TV to go along with the release of the game.
Right.
But I had never played. I was only on the second day of the game coming out, so I didn't know yet what's important. How much does it take to make this? How much does it take to make that? When you're building things. Now I know what's important, and I still do it like somebody who has a syndrome.
Were you
But
surprised to find out that pencils and tin cans weren't?
tin cans are super important.
They
and
tell you,
pencils are
like,
excellent for
it
bargaining.
tells you what all the materials are.
Yeah, but I didn't know what those materials were going
Oh,
to
okay,
make.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the acceptance is
It's my story,
difficult.
and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I have put. I think last time I looked, it was over a month of actual game time. So all the hours I played stacked up. It says that, but on the Xbox, it's hard to tell because sometimes it's got your game running in the background while you're doing other things, or even when you turn your system off.
Right.
So who knows?
So for those reasons that both of you had, I didn't buy Fallout 4 and I didn't buy Witcher 3. Especially once I heard Witcher 3 was larger than Bethesda games and more, I guess, functional. It didn't have as many bugs and strange things.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps getting added on and on and on. Because I sank so many hours into Skyrim. It was disgusting.
Comes out again in 3 weeks.
I can't do it.
4 weeks?
I can't do it. I love my family too much.
They'll come and get you.
No.
No.
Yeah, I'll
No,
see
don't
them
do
at
it.
the court proceedings, but that'll be it. Yeah.
You've played it. You don't need to get it again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to buy it again. It'll be the third
Oh.
time I buy Skyrim.
Once on PC, once on console, and again on console.
But for part of that for me is supporting, like, I love Bethesda. And now that they have id under their belt, I'm super happy for everything that they make. Doom, I don't know if I've said this on a podcast yet, but unless something really knocks my socks off before the end of the year, Doom is going to end up being my favorite game of 2016. Inside might be one of the most memorable gaming experiences that I've done. Did you beat that yet, Bo?
No, I have like 20% left, I'd assume.
And Ian?
I picked it up because I was feeling like it was an interesting game, and I've heard that it was good. I didn't know it was only going to be 3 hours. but also, yeah, I finished that game pretty quickly, and it was good. I'm
Yeah.
really confused by the ending, but other than that, it's good.
That would be a conversation that we'll have to have after all of us have beat it.
Yeah.
Because if you have 20% of the game left, then you still have some game to play.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's an experience where I think it was $20.
Yeah.
And even though it was only 3 hours, and now that you've beat it, you could probably run through it in a third of that because you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I spent too much money on that at all.
Mm-mm.
No, it's really pretty, and I mean, it had my heart racing at some parts of it too, because you're
Those
like
dogs.
the
The
dogs.
well,
mercy.
Oh man.
And the underwater hair monster.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So terrified.
Yeah.
The good game. though.
She rips open the sub. Have you gotten to that part?
Mhm.
Sub?
So
Yeah.
he's encountered her both in the bathysphere, or whatever you would call that thing,
And then outside of it.
and outside of it.
Outside of it is the most terrifying. There's parts where I'm like, nope, I'm not getting back in the water. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. I'm
Well-
not gonna play this.
And the first time she cracks open your little submersible there, it's like, I thought I was safe in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, right, because that was the only time where, I mean, intentional or not, I felt so helpless. And then I got in there where you should feel claustrophobic. You should feel like you have no control. But I felt so safe. And then that bastard.
Yeah.
It's like
She just destroys you.
hair clog from a drain.
The guys who made that made Limbo. Did you
Mhm.
play through Limbo?
Not all of it, no.
I haven't played Limo.
Oh, really?
No, I actually would like to play it now after playing that game too.
Mhm.
Which,
They're very similar in how you play them. I think a lot of people equate the games too closely as though they're related. I don't think they are. I think that the people who made it like to use similar themes across their games. So it's understandable why people might think they're linked, but I don't think they are.
Well, and the art style is very similar, but if the art style works, why wouldn't you replicate it, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, or do something similar.
Yeah, it makes sense. But those guys who made that game are brilliant, and they're really good at telling a story with giving you nothing. And they're sick,
no dialogue or anything, which is
Yeah.
and they need help. They're from, I think they're either from Iceland or Sweden or Norway. A
which
lot
means
of hard
you would
Ks
think
in their names.
No, which means that you think they would have really good health care so they
Yeah.
can get their brains checked out.
Mm.
And
But it's the long winter nights that get them.
Yeah.
it must be.
Mhm.
That was when they made this game. It was
Yeah,
just,
they only do it.
Right.
They only make it at night when it's dark. So all day.
Polar bear scratching at your door. That's all I can think of. I really enjoyed Tomb Raider this year. I mean,
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
yeah, excuse me, Rise of the
That's
Tomb
fine.
Raider. I really enjoy those kind of adventure games, and I think they've made Laura much more realistic. And I know always gets compared to Uncharted and everything, which I haven't played yet.
So-
And
This is really interesting because it's Uncharted was Tomb Raider if Tomb Raider was a good game,
right,
and cared about characters and whatnot. Because the only thing people remember from the original Tomb Raiders are Lara Croft and her big, triangular boobs, and maybe the T-Rex, because there's a
Yeah.
T-Rex in the first Tomb Raider. But then it became much more about Lara Croft as a sexualized game character than anything else. And then we got much better at making games with stories and narrative and characters that you could relate to. And then they made Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, and those games were fantastic. And they really made you absolutely care about the characters and want to see them more. And then the folks who made the new Tomb Raider were like, well, we're taking it back. We're gonna do Uncharted, even though Uncharted was doing Tomb Raider.
and they were all doing Indiana Jones,
And they were all doing Indiana Jones.
right?
Yeah, Uncharted is really good though. I've enjoyed those. I think I've only played one of them, but it was really good.
Yeah.
The second one is probably that's when it starts out in the
First
train.
one on PS3.
They're all on PS3. The new one is on the PS4. Uncharted 4.
Okay, yeah.
The first, if you haven't played any,
I played
of
the
them,
second one. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't played any of them, the first one has all the characters and all that, and it's super fun to watch the story happen, and the gameplay's okay. The second one really improves on the gameplay, but nails the narrative. So the entire time you're playing, you're at the edge of your seat. Very enjoyable. One of the best main characters in the game ever, I think.
It's very cinematic.
Yep. And then the third one, which I think probably should have been the last one, because it did a good job just saying, okay, this is a nice place to end. We don't need to watch this character go out and kill 3,000 people again and then just walk away like he didn't murder an entire state. Not an entire state because he did it all over the world. But it would have been a good place to end. But I've heard nothing but good things about Uncharted 4.
Yeah, I'll probably pick up a PlayStation this holiday season just to.
You get the Pro?
No, I'm just going to buy the cheapest one. No, I would not buy the Pro.
Do you want mine?
Yes, I'll buy it from you.
Okay, I'll consider that.
Done.
You only have that because of Destiny, right?
I did. I bought. So here's the thing. I'm the same way about Destiny. I was the same way about Destiny that Darin was about Fallout 4.
About
and that,
2 game systems.
So I bought an Xbox One in anticipation of Destiny, but also in anticipation of Halo and other things. I mean, there were a lot of things on Xbox that I was expecting to buy and play. But then I had several friends that were going to be playing Destiny on PS4, and so I was like, well, shit, I need a PS4 if I'm going to play with them, because I didn't really think I was going to have that many people on Xbox that were going to play. So I picked up a PS4. I bought the special. I was really, really interested in all the lore of Destiny and everything before the game came out. So I picked up the most expensive Destiny version for the PS4, and then I picked up the Destiny PS4 as well. So it's a white PS4, and it came with the game. I sold that copy of the game to a friend of mine.
Jeez.
And I got the other one that had the Ghost. I've got the Ghost downstairs.
Dinklebot, yeah.
It still got his dialogue on it, so it's just.
I was going to give you shit, but then I just realized I own 2 separate copies of Fallout 4, and I have that Pip-Boy thing that comes with it.
That's true.
So, and a couple of customizable items that my friends have made for me, like Beau made me a pipe rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeremiah bent up a can, and then you tarnished it. Is that kind of what you did?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that the right phrase?
Weathered.
Tarnishing?
We weathered it, but
Weathered it.
Yeah.
And another friend of mine had a separate box that the Pip-Boy comes in, and he weatherized that.
Nice.
And he's sending it to me. So, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
You love your thing.
Yeah.
Buy
So
it.
I picked it up on digital on Xbox, and I've just bought all the DLC on Xbox. So I got the first 2 DLCs on PS4 because I bought the special edition or whatever. But I still have all the stuff on Xbox as well. So.
Do you have any additional games?
Oh yeah.
for
The other
PlayStation
thing is
to-
that I played through all the way up. I got 3 characters like max level on PS4 before I stopped and started playing on Xbox only. So like I have characters on PS4 that are like mostly leveled up. I mean, they're not to the highest, latest stuff. But sorry, go ahead. What?
No, that's all right. I was wondering if do you have any other games for the PS4?
Did I buy one? I think I bought one other game, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
At least The Last of Us, right?
Last of Us is what I bought.
Yeah.
And actually,
You bought
I
a
have
digital
not.
or
No, I bought a physical copy because it was on sale, and I haven't played through it all the way.
You should
yet.
play that and beat it probably before you get rid of your PlayStation 4.
I should. The game scared the hell out of me, though.
Every game that I have for the PlayStation 4 is an exclusive.
Yeah.
So I think I have The Order, which I've heard you can beat in like 15 minutes. But it's probably very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very pretty. And then I have Bloodborne and Until Dawn, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank. I'm a huge Ratchet and Clank fan, so
I've heard that was great.
yeah, I had to buy that because it's a reimagining of the original one, and then it kind of adds in the movie that just came out in April, made about $7. So
They
that was
thank you
cool.
for that.
They did, yeah, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think every game I have for the PlayStation 4 is an exclusive. I have some of their downloadable games though. They had some really fun ones. Like that's what I played Enter the Gungeon on because it's not on Xbox One.
So you said that Last of Us scared you, huh?
Well, it's just one of those games where like every time I sat down to play it, I wasn't expecting to play, kind of it's just kind of one of those jumpy games.
Anxiety.
Yeah, you get a little bit anxious, like, what am I going to find around this corner?
Oh, yeah.
And then you just run into those, like, those ones that explode and those zombies that are just, like, yeah. Zombie games are one type of game that I've never been a huge fan of, and I played the what was the? God, I'm totally blanking.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Thank you.
And that's not
those
really,
ones I loved because it's more of a co-op experience and all that stuff. But.
There is a game coming out for the PlayStation 4 called Days Gone, which looks like World War Z. Or like a Left 4 Dead style horde. Left 4 Dead, only more realistic. And that looks like it could be cool.
It does look cool. It looks cool because you can set up. So they come out at night, dusk, I believe. And so if you go into an area beforehand, you can kind of rig it to be conducive to you. Because apparently what it is once they're onto you, you can't just shoot through them.
Okay.
So they'll always be there. And
so it's like you can. Just like in Left 4 Dead, because I think they constantly come at you.
Right, and so one thing, they released that at E3 this year, or they showed a trailer for it, and it was awesome. All those zombies pouring out of a window, it was beautiful. But apparently in interviews afterwards, the creators were saying that it's actually resource restricted, and for that demo, they loaded them all up so people could see it more, but also that's the first time you're showing your face to the world.
So people tell me it's not going to be like that. Am I going to get?
I'm just saying. So I like resource where you have to reserve your resource. We have to think about your shots and things like that. So I think it's less Left 4 Dead,
which is fine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
As long as hopefully there will be still 1 or 2 sequences in the game that's similar to that, because that terrifying wave of what looked like hundreds of zombies coming at you. That's what made me. That's one of the first things I've seen in a while that was like, this couldn't be on the last generation of systems.
Oh, right.
Most of the games we're playing now, you could take off a couple polishes of paint, and it would go like Fallout 4. You could put Fallout 4 on the 360, it would just look not as good. But Days Gone looks really cool, and I'm excited to play games on my PlayStation 4, when they come out.
Yeah. So going back to scary games, because I really relate to whoever I'm playing, so I'll get into it. So that's why I didn't buy Alien, although it looks like a game I would love. I didn't buy that. I think
with a blanket on top of you, and you're just playing.
Just absolutely terrified. I think the game that I played that scared me away from those high anxiety or stress games is when I played Manhunt. Manhunt 2, like, it's just the most. And then when I look back at it, I can't think. I don't know why I continue to play it because it's so demented and so violent and so absolutely disgusting. But that game, sneaking up on people, and if you're seen, you're gonna get destroyed. And
then you plastic bag people to death.
Oh my gosh, just
is that right?
Mercy. It's the most violent thing in the world. Did you know that? So Wii, for some reason, it came out on Wii, and there's actually a portion where a guy's on a phone. It's on a cord phone, and so. If you sneak up behind him, you can actually take the handset out of his hand and then you grab the base of the phone and he smashes him in the head with it and then wraps the cord around his neck and strangles him. But you're doing it with the Wii remote, so it's as close to this weird fetish thing that and it was on Wii. So strange.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, that is funny. I was so sad that I didn't use the Wii for anything. I think the game I played the most on the Wii was the Wii version of Resident Evil 4, which was still pretty awesome.
Yeah, on the rails.
Yeah. No, this one there was an on-rail shooter there as well. I think it was called maybe Outbreak or something like that. But they had it on the Wii, so when you pointed, that was where you were pointing in the game. And it actually worked. It worked really well for that. That's another game that Resident Evil 4 I bought on the GameCube, bought it on the Wii. I don't think I ever purchased it on the PlayStation 2. I got the 360 HD port of it, and then it just came out on the Xbox One about a month ago. And every time I see the ad for it, I'm like, I got $20. I could buy this.
It's a good game.
I could buy that game for a fourth time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you played Resident Evil 4?
No, I've never really played any of the Resident Evil games.
The 4, like, the ones that came before it are important. And, like, one's fun, but I think 2 is the best of the old-style Resident Evil games. But Resident Evil 4 is, I think, why we have a lot of other games that we have right now. It was a very important step in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out on the GameCube, which at the time was, the one that you would kick to the curb and, throw dirt in its face and tell it that it's never going to be anything.
You'd put it on top of your Sega Dreamcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, because it got rid of tank controls, which were difficult, and a fixed camera in the first 2.
It had action-sensitive buttons. So, like, if you went up to a door, you could tap the X button to, like, open it, or you could mash the X, or, like, slam the X button, and you would kick the door open. And if there was somebody on the other side, they would get, like, knocked back. And even, like, at that time, they didn't really have anything like that in games. So the first time you did something like that, or like somebody throws a hatchet at you and you can like shoot it out of the sky.
Oh, yeah.
The first time you did that, it was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Right. And that was their transition from survival horror to the
Action.
over-the-top action, kind of what it is today.
And then in 5, they forgot any semblance of a horror game. And I loved 5. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it's not a Resident Evil game anymore.
Right. And I will not play, what is it, 7?
7?
Nope.
Civival.
Nope. I'm not playing any horror VR games. No thanks. I can't do it.
I think the only reason that game's being made is because PT made such a big splash. Do you guys know what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah.
I feel like if they had made PT, they probably wouldn't have been making this Resident Evil.
Well, but I think PT and the Kitchen demo came out at the same time, or around the same time, right? Did PT come out that much earlier than the...
Yeah, PT was announced and canceled long before they announced Resident Evil 7. So...
But the Kitchen demo, that was before anyone knew that it was related to Resident Evil 7.
What was the Kitchen
So the
demo?
Kitchen demo is you're in a chair and you can't move, and there's a lady that comes up behind you, and it's like talking about how apparently you're a police officer or something, I don't know. Your partner's gone because she killed him, and it's just a tense thing. So, but it was pretty much a demo of what they can do, but that was built by the people that are building 7. So that Kitchen demo isn't in 7.
Oh, okay.
But,
That's maybe how they got the job to make Resident Evil 7.
It was the Resident Evil 7 team, as I understand it.
They were already making Resident Evil 7.
Right. Yep. But this was kind of this is the direction we're going. Nonetheless, yes, PT, especially because people were really let down when PT didn't happen. They absolutely capitalized on it, and why wouldn't you?
I don't know what Konami can do now to become relevant again.
Continue to make pachinko machines and sell them in Japan. Well, they're doing they're doing Metal Gear Survive. Congratulations to them. It's like a weekend at Bernie's situation, only much sadder. Yeah.
Yeah, for the listening audience at home or wherever you're listening to this, I just held up my arms like Bernie when they were doing the marionette thing.
Right, but you're Solid Snake.
Yes. Have you ever seen Weekend at Bernie's? It was made before you were born.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get into Metal Gear Solid 5?
I did. I got into it. I don't remember what else came out. Oh no, I went on a trip, and then I just didn't pick it. I didn't pick it up afterwards. So, but that's on my short list. I'm finishing Syndicate right now, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is a really good game. Controls are finally dialed in, and it's fun. It doesn't have as much nonsense, but
cool.
Nobody has any appetite for it anymore.
I tried to play Black Flag.
Brotherhood, probably.
No, Black Flag.
Black Flag's the pirate one, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. That game has too much going on.
Oh.
It's trying to do way too much.
Absolutely.
I was like, what is this? What am I? I'm a captain on a boat?
Yeah.
What? Why?
Which is sad because the sea combat was incredibly fun once you got into it, but there was, as soon as you got off on land, then there was way too much of like, go find a parrot feather.
Yeah.
These fetch quests where I also have to stab a jaguar are ridiculous.
Because he took your parrot feather.
Right.
Yeah, as a person who always wants to like get everything right in the game, like when I'm playing it, I don't know if I would say I'm a perfectionist, but by the first time I've completed a game, I've usually done most of the stuff there is to do. That's why in Fallout 4, I've got a month into the game and I've only done half of the story quests. And I still have a bunch of areas that I haven't even been to yet. But in Black Flag, I think one of the first little side missions was like, some guy stole a thing and he's running around, and I was chasing him, and I went to go and knock him down, but the same button, like one button does everything in that game, so instead of knocking him down, I ran up a wall, and then it was like, he got away, and I'm like, oh, I'll just load up so I can get him again.
No.
And no, he's gone.
No.
He's always going to be gone.
Forever.
And I stopped playing the game.
Except for they're all randomized, and he'll be back as soon as you keep playing. But no, I support anybody that plays a game and they find a point, they say this isn't fun, and they stop. It was, I don't know, whatever, 2 Call of Duties ago. I don't remember what point. I for some reason I couldn't just get past this monster closet, and I just got up and said, no, that's it. I'm just done. I fully support. No matter how much I love a game, by all means. If you run into a point and you want to quit and play something you want to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, who mentioned that? How did we get on here? Was it you that said... Do you ever just walk away from a game, or do you just...
Well, and I went from one extreme to another, that I needed to complete any game I bought, to now where I'll just... And part of that must be means, because I feel like it's my only game I can buy.
There's something that changed between, I think it was the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. At least for me it was. When, back on the 360, maybe it was just that I had more time back then to play games or something, but I used to spend a lot more time trying to get achievements. Like, that was a focus, and try and get 100% or something. I really only have 1 or 2 100% games, and most, I think they're both arcade games. I've never really 100%ed a regular game, and that's because they add DLC, and then it gets it's like, screw it. But I think at some point it was achievements just became irrelevant. Almost like it's, there's just so many now that it doesn't matter. I mean, you're not competing directly with other people to get
gamer score.
Yeah, gamer score or anything like that.
And on the 360, that was the first time that happened.
Right.
Steam didn't have achievements or points. It took PlayStation 3 or 4 years to add trophies. So that became almost like that was your street cred.
Right. It was a way to compare where you and your friends were in a game or in, multiple games.
And there are different kinds of achievements. I think usually when you play a game, if you beat the game on maybe middle difficulty, by the time you've beat it, you probably have half to 3/4 of the achievements.
Sure.
And then the other ones are go back and beat it on hard or insane.
I think I might have stopped caring about achievements when I went and tried to play Mass Effect on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, Insanity.
Yeah.
Aptly named.
And I was like, this is dumb. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, there's Dead Space 2, which is one of my favorite games. Has
I don't know
thing...
that I ever beat Dead Space 2.
What?
I didn't either.
I loved Dead Space 1, but I can't remember if I beat Dead Space 2. I never played Dead Space 3, so...
It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a departure, but... so Dead Space 1 is, it's a horror game. You can be killed at a moment's notice, and you're slowly building up, and towards the end, you just barely make it through. And you're a normal guy, so that's cool. And then in Dead Space 2, it's kind of like Alien to Aliens, which came up in the last podcast, where, the first one, Alien, it's just, I'm mostly defenseless, but I'm going to make it through because I got Moxie. And then in 2, it's now I have Moxie and an assault rifle. And then in 3, it's much more narratively driven, and it's not my favorite by far. 2, I think, is my favorite.
Okay, interesting.
But it's still definitely worth playing, and I think Isaac Clarke is still a cool character.
Yeah.
But in Dead Space 2, they had a thing where it was beat it on the hardest difficulty with only saving twice. And so the only way that you could get around that was to save your game and then copy it to a different hard drive.
Oh my gosh.
Because if you died, and like or if you reloaded, you had to it knew where you were saving it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you couldn't trick it.
Mm.
Or if you could trick it, you had to you had to put way more effort in it to
Right.
get a 30-point achievement. And that was also a point for me where it's like I'm not even going to try and do this. I enjoy Dead Space 2. I don't want to make it a job.
Yeah, I would say social gaming too also pushed me away from
Sure.
being a completionist.
Yeah,
as far
yeah.
as finishing every game.
Yeah.
If you think how much time we've spent playing GTA 5
Oh,
on the Xbox One, I think I have 100 achievements in GTA 5
oh, for
for
sure.
100 points.
I look through my stats every once in a while just to see, you killed this many, Quick Trip employees, and you killed this many random people that are walking on the sidewalk, and it's astonishing how much time I spent. But I've enjoyed my time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so even when I would load up something that I wanted to play, like Metal Gear, and then I would see more than one person playing Grand Theft Auto, like, I'm gonna go play Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's with me too. I tend to prefer the social games unless I'm having like a quiet night. I'd rather just
Right. And that's why I'm excited for Ghost Recon Wildlands, because that's 4-player, it's co-op, open world. Missions are as you can take them. However, there's no sequential order to them, I should say.
So
Looks great.
I brought up Crackdown the other earlier, and have either of you seen anything? Have you played Crackdown?
I've played Crackdown 1. I missed Crackdown 2.
Okay, Crackdown 2 wasn't as good.
But it was still fun, probably?
Yeah, it was still fun. I think that it didn't have the same feeling as Crackdown 1 did, which I can't really explain. But
Well, it was made by a different developer, because the developer went on to make APB.
which then
first
got shut
Crackdown.
down, and
Yeah. And now you can buy it. You get it for free.
yeah.
But
But Crackdown 3 is coming out next year, supposedly, which, I haven't heard any release date updates on that. But
seems like a spring game.
have you seen the tech demos from that game?
Mm-mm.
Seen a little
Which-
bit. So
Again, they're tech demos, but
well, the idea is when you're playing online, it uses basically like cloud processing. So it's
I think the
using-
whole game is online, basically.
I
I think that's my understanding, is that like you're always connected to the servers, and when it uses cloud processing to render buildings and things,
Mhm.
so then you can destroy the city, and it's all being rendered by the servers. And then the tech demo, they showed how many servers are using like compute power to render all that stuff, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you just blow apart parts of buildings, and when you knock out the bottom structural piece, the piece of the building, it just starts tipping over. And
This reminds me of when I think it was the United States military bought like 5,000 PlayStation 4s and daisy chained them together because it was like less expensive than buying a supercomputer.
Mm-hmm.
So something like that, is that
Yeah, and then for research, they use Kinect cameras quite a bit.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's cool.
So
I also use my Kinect camera for research.
When I'm screaming at Cortana to pause effing Netflix and it's not doing it, she's like, "I'm sorry, I can't find that on the marketplace. I can't find that on your Zune playlist."
So apparently my Kinect broke just in time, because everyone has been complaining about the Cortana thing, and I haven't experienced it because my Kinect died, but apparently saying Xbox doesn't work anymore. Is that
Right,
the-
they just changed it from Xbox,
Oh.
which is weird.
That's dumb.
They should allow you to go back to saying Xbox. If they want, but
3
it's a brand
syllables
thing.
is too many to
Well,
say.
It's a brand thing.
So my wife hates Cortana specifically, but it's because she's talking to it like a person that won't listen, not a machine that's trying to read what you're saying.
Yeah,
She's like talking to your daughter.
Right. Yeah. Or me. And so she'll be like, Cortana pause. And then we'll pause. She'll be like, Cortana pause. And I'm like, this is not helping, Steph. But there was some update. And in the update, they were saying, you can say, hey, Cortana. And I thought, maybe I should say, hey, Cortana. And it's working really well.
Really?
Oh.
So I don't know if hey is the prompt, the preparatory.
It's like Go Gadget.
Right. So instead of saying, because, so you could say Xbox when you're speaking in a sentence.
Well, it's
and
like-
maybe this is, pairing it up. Hey, Cortana, like preparatory and that kind of thing. So.
It's also like OK Google.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or Hey Siri. Because that's what it is now. It's
Is
Hey
it?
Siri.
Oh, okay.
To turn it on. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to turn it off because my phone kept going off.
Say it at work.
And she's
I'd say it
worthless.
all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe that's what it is. It needs more syllables to catch the saying, and then it can go from there.
Yeah, I remember Xbox like saying, Xbox pause, Xbox play. That always seemed to work pretty well. Xbox record that. But I'm pretty sure it didn't always work that way. Like,
Yeah.
I think I remember it when it was better, and not so much like when it first started.
Sure.
Although the first weekend the Xbox came out, because you got one at launch, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
The Xbox One?
Oh, you got it the summer before Destiny came out.
Yeah, I got it when it was bundled with Titanfall.
It was me and at the time I was living with a gentleman named Andy, and he was in the basement and I was upstairs, and it was kind of a loft open floor plan situation, so we could hear each other, and we were just being like, Xbox turn on, and then like the system, or Xbox turn off, yes, and then the system would power down and we'd be like, ah. It felt like we were in the future for about 3 days before we realized it doesn't always work.
No, well, and you can turn it on with your Xbox app.
Yeah.
And so I've done that before, and I'm sure it's been terrifying because it's downstairs and I'll be upstairs. Or
Well,
vice
I actually
versa.
miss my Kinect just for the fact that I could even if I use the controller or the app or something, the fact that when I hit turn on, it would turn my TV on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't have that functionality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have
Because
to
you
use a
don't have the
remote.
Kinect?
What am I, fucking plebeian?
Yeah. What is this? 2014 was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think the Hey is eliminating like false positives, right? We're not
cool.
running into my Xbox did or whatever. I don't know when you would ever use those commands in a sentence, but I'm sure. Although I know I have said Xbox and it was trying to listen to the next thing I had said, which is probably like Xbox really messed up when they made Kinect. So Kinect
And then your
frowns.
Xbox just starts crying.
Mercy.
Well, Ian and I used to, and I believe still listen to some podcasts where they're talking a lot about that. You listen to some gaming style podcasts, but I know a lot of the Rooster Teeth podcasts they would be talking about, and they'd be like, "So I was playing this weekend, and like I kept saying like Xbox this, Xbox that, and I would turn it on and off, and then like somebody else would be like, you just turned off a bunch of people's Xboxes, right?"
Yeah, they're playing it out loud. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kinect got as much support. I think it could have done a lot of great things, and specifically because I'll be sitting, my wife and my daughter will be sitting together, and they'll be watching whatever, Netflix, and I'll come in and I'll sit in between them on the couch, and it'll recognize me. I mean, while it's already doing so many other things. I think the power is there. It's just no one was. I mean, also I'm sure people are afraid of. I'm not getting on the next Wii. It's kind of sad that it wasn't supported as much. But.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Nintendo. Is the only people who make great Nintendo games is Nintendo,
Right.
And then maybe they made it too like a processor intensive when they said like all games have to plan in for Kinect. If they had said this is an option from the get go, but then if you do that, then people just don't plan for it, because why plan for something that not everybody might have?
And part of that's PR saying, and games will have the ability to implement this, and let's show you why it's awesome. But if you say to someone you have to buy this with it, it's like do you want to buy insurance on your rental car? No, I don't. And you're kind of forcing it on people. Whereas if you made it seem like something that you're reaching a different level of customer, or customers now expect you to have it, if you're going to be a AAA game or whatever. But
Yeah, well, it's the second thing that the second major thing anyways, that Microsoft has gone back on, which is that, initially with the Xbox One, which they didn't, they basically just didn't do a good job explaining themselves when they first announced the Xbox One, but they were going to have some requirement that it was always connected to the internet, right? And we don't know what that would have provided versus taken away from what we are in today.
I know what it would have provided. I wouldn't have to get up to put in GTA 5 when Beau texts me and he's like, "Hey, I see you're playing this, but you can do that."
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Because they now have the Play Anywhere, where if you buy a game on Xbox One, you get it on PC. For Recore is the first game that was allowed to do that. How does that work? So did you buy a digital copy of Recore, or did you buy physical?
I always buy physical copies if I can.
So did it come with a code?
Maybe.
I bet it's through your Windows Live account.
Well, right. So that's what I mean. But
But
Do
if
you
it
have
was
to-
through
Oh,
Windows
right.
Live account, I could just lend it to somebody and they would own it.
Yeah.
So it's probably a code.
Okay, so there's a one-time use code where if you buy the Xbox One copy of it, you're going to get... But then how does it work? I guess the reverse way, you buy a digital copy and then you get a digital copy on the Xbox as well.
I don't
maybe.
know. But that's a very good question.
I just don't know, because that was my question with it. It was, how do you prevent someone from buying a copy, giving their friend the copy of the game? And that was my question with how the original plan for Xbox One was going to be. But how do you stop people from just sharing games if your intent is to make it so that you can resell them digitally? But
each game would have just come with a code.
I wonder if the discs are serialized on the little foil in the center.
I
Yeah.
feel like that could be a way, but if that was the case, we would still have all of that capability. It just wouldn't be enacted because I don't think they had enough time
but
to significantly change the hardware before the game came out.
then the
the
question
system
is
came.
why do discs exist at all if it's just a code that you have to enter to activate your copy of the disc, right?
Well, the big reason that they exist is because not everybody has the same
Sure.
level of internet.
Okay.
Well, same level of internet and same hard drive. I mean, I know you can plug and play essentially externals right now, but especially so, say you're a
Well,
40-year-old mom and you're buying it for your 12-year-old son, and then they're like, hey, buy this external hard drive. No.
yeah, I mean, that's fair, except that pretty much all the games require an install, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, either it's a small install or a significant one. Most of the games, I think, install pretty much the whole game.
No, they do. They install
Yeah.
the entire thing.
Yeah. And that used to be the complaint against, PS3. When you got a PS3 game, you had to install the whole thing, and people were pissed at launch of, midnight launch. They'd basically have to sit there and wait while the game installed. Whereas
if you'd bought it on-
Xbox
yeah.
players could immediately start playing.
But they'd even part way through the Xbox 360 lifespan, they started doing in-game game installs.
They did. They were minor, right? They weren't the
Right.
full thing.
Well, yeah, but they were definitely minor, and there was a lot of times it was an option, and I always just did it because I assumed it would be faster.
It would speed up loading times
Yeah, it did
and-
speed up loads. Which some games like Mass Effect were basically you wanted that because if you didn't have it, you were going to be sitting on the loading screen a lot.
And GTA 5 required
GTA 5,
a
yeah.
huge install.
What's Destiny's excuse for me flying towards the moon for like 20 minutes while I'm trying to wait on that Fogath? Excuse me, pulled pork finger.
Polgarth the Thinger.
Yes. Yeah, right. When I'm trying to go kill that mofaki and just hanging around that damn moon. Good Lord.
The wait times on Recore are long enough that you could go make a sandwich.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh.
I shouldn't say that because it's maybe a minute or two every time you go through a door and into a different section of the world, which you don't have to do very frequently, but it's long. And I feel like the game was probably made by a smaller team for a smaller amount of money, and I'm really happy with it. But I do hope that they improve the load times.
GTA is amazing to me. I don't know how they can put it.
Oh yeah, why are we talking about Destiny or Recore? Every time you're hanging in the clouds for 5 minutes.
Well, yeah,
5 minutes.
Well, I know it takes forever to get you into the game, right? But then you're in the game and you can fly or run
Oh my
or
gosh.
drive around this
Yeah.
whole island, and you don't have any loading. It's just,
Yeah.
stuff pops in right as you get closer to it, but it's
I
amazing.
can be in my apartment looking down at my buddy on a police chase while another friend flies an
in
F-16
fear.
past my apartment,
Yeah,
and it's just not a big deal.
yeah.
It's just what it is.
I don't. It's amazing to me that even exists.
and
That's the it's just one of those things that indicates even more closely that we may be in a some virtual reality thing, right? Because you can do that in a game that's on a console, but what if
You should totally listen to the last podcast on the left. Henry Zabrowski
Yeah.
talks a lot about that.
Okay.
I won't say anything more than this, but he'll even say I think aliens are. And I think he's serious in this, but again, they're comedians. It's tough with Henry. He's hilarious, but he'll say things like they'll talk about aliens, and he'll be like, "I think aliens are real, but I don't think they're extraterrestrial type aliens. I believe it's our energy interacting with another because we're actually just part of the simulated reality." And this guy's actually insane, but he's grounded enough that he might not be. Anyway, but back to GTA.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder because they have another DLC coming out again, free, which is amazing.
Yeah, they haven't charged one dime
No.
for DLC yet.
No, Which
Way to go, Rockstar.
which makes me okay then when I buy one of those shark cards.
Sure.
Although I haven't done it very much. But so they have another DLC coming out now, and you can make your own biker gang. And so it's going to come with more bikes, obviously, but biker-themed tattoos, biker-themed weapons, which I really hope is like Road Rash. If Aaron ever listens to this, he's going to love that. But yeah, chains and pipes and everything. But then you can buy a clubhouse, and you can start your own club and all this other stuff. And I love that to death, but just skip the next DLC and let me come out of the clouds sooner. However, you got to make that happen.
Well, and we've had the issues where I think it was either if Aaron or I were both playing, then we couldn't get into a match.
Yeah, it was his NAT, but yeah, his NAT settings. But still,
network stuff is always a pain in the ass.
I feel that it's so much more with GTA because Travis had it, I had it.
Yeah. Well, the game's more complicated.
And yeah, so I don't know how GTA hosts their stuff, but that could be just dependent on who's technically the host of the game, right? The game world.
Well, that's what we were trying. Like, okay, Aaron, you host.
Yeah.
No, okay, I'll host. Okay, Beau, try hosting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go to bed.
And the second thing could be if the game's not communicating, if the game is communicating between every person in the game as a peer network instead of through a server as a host, that would introduce problems because they would. If the network connectivity is between you and another player is not good, then you wouldn't have any way of communicating, basically.
And I think it's peer-to-peer because your NAT type, so if you have a restricted NAT type and someone has a moderate even, yeah, right. So unless everybody has low and you're the only one with high, then you're okay. But if there's anything more than two moderates, you're host.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, still a great game.
Why can't we all just have open NATs?
You can. It's just a matter of the fact that there's so much network hardware out there that you can buy. That's like it's just people restrict the way that they're designed. Sometimes they're just restricting so much. They're prioritizing security over putting holes in the basically ports that allow you.
It's because not everybody's playing video games on because that resides in your router, your gateway.
Right. But I guess I have a Netgear app where I can go and from here I can reset my Netgear thing.
Sure.
But I don't have a button where I can just say, please give me an open NAT.
Well, and so even more confusing is I've done this multiple times where I'll have a moderate NAT, and I found some nerd kid on YouTube. I say that as I'm talking about this stuff. But you can essentially run a network.
That you don't have.
Right. Yeah, see? I was like Bugsy. Some 1940s gangs never catch me.
See, we're going to open up your net. See?
Run network settings. No, so you can run
that. You dirty rat.
Right. You see? So you can run network settings, and it'll say everything's okay. And thank you, Xbox. You hold down both shoulders, triggers, select, and start for, 30 seconds. And it'll kick you out to this. It'll basically think, right? It'll think and spin, and then it'll say network test okay or something, and it'll kick my NAT back to low. No idea why. But I haven't gone into my router, which is where you should have to go. Yeah. So there is something in between there, and that's always my first try. And it's really sad that you cannot find that anywhere.
There's not a setting for it. There's not a button to do it. It's just
no. You somehow need to know that you have to have your friend come over and also hold down buttons. Yeah, and then you have to read some Shakespeare to your Connect.
Well, and Aaron, what was it, a month ago, was like, I'm allergic to you, cat. Please don't stick your face in my drink.
And which is weird, because I never knew Aaron was allergic to cats.
Yeah, Aaron's super allergic to cats. I love cats. I wish I weren't super allergic to them.
Do you want my cat?
No, I mean, because he'll kill me. I'll wake up one day dead because he's laying on my face.
So you won't wake up?
I'll wake up dead. No, Aaron was having issues and had been having issues for a while. Before that, it was Travis. But Aaron one night at 11 o'clock is like, that's it. I'm calling technical support. And he was on the phone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Till 3 o'clock in the morning. I picture the guy was at home. And he's like, can I go to sleep? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
You're not going to sleep until I complete GTA 5.
And it's I'm only a quarter way into this Jameson. You have some time left. It's not even worth calling tech support. If you're listening to this and you have NAT issues, you just go on YouTube. Someone will set you straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just get into your router and just click everything, turn everything on.
Everything should be open.
Everything, yeah.
Change all passwords to admin or password.
Yes.
But this
and also put everything in your network in the DMZ, and then you'll be good.
Yeah, and if you need help, just screen capture everything that you have about your network, and then your personal information is put on StackOverflow.com.
And Reddit, and 4chan.
Yeah.
Now, does
They'll
this
help
shit
you out.
happen on the PC? Like, I don't ever remember dealing with any of this crap when I did online gaming.
So it does depend on. It depends on what games you're playing, right? I mean, it's the same kind of thing. If you're playing peer-to-peer games, there is going to be some latency in that, but some of that's introduced by the ports that the games are using on the consoles. That I don't know they use the same ports on PCs.
I just had a thought.
Nerds.
My thought was, I know that Christy has been very supportive, and I think she's listened to all this podcasts.
Yeah.
We can probably tell her she just doesn't need to listen to anything that we talked about this entire
Just start
time.
hitting that 10-second forward button on
Yeah.
iTunes
Put on
right
times
now.
4.
Nerds.
I think we should probably wrap this episode up, and we can discuss more things if we feel like we want to.
Sure.
But thank you for listening to the Mutual Friend Podcast. It's been fun talking about games and nerdy things like network settings. Yeah, like us on those places they listen to us on. Yeah, wherever
And
that
our
is.
Facebook page.
Yeah, and our Facebook page, Mutual Friend Podcast. All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.